Welcome back. Previously, what we've covered in our lesson was how to manage the environment to protect our project from other interference from other project and also conflicts between the libraries that has been installed in your system. Because quite often that when you are using Python, you may toggle between Python 2 and also Python 3 because there are still a lot of common libraries and common distributions and examples that has been written in Python 2. So you might want to actually activate the Python 2 environment from time to time. In this video, we're going to move into navigating the Spider and also the Jupyter Notebook environment. So as you can see here, I've already have the environment, virtual environment up and running. The Iris project environment is already running. So I would encourage you to actually do likewise. I'll give you a couple of seconds, pause the video and get yourself to this same space. Okay, so now let's run Jupyter. All you have to do now is just type, sorry, not Jupyter, Spider. We'll start with Spider first. So let's run Spider just by doing that. And this is pretty much what the Spider interface will look like. So you have the typical, notice that we're running Spider Python 3.6. You have the typical file menu, you have the edit menu, the search, source, and run. You will you'll run these F5 quite regularly, and this is what you use to debug and set breakpoint and all of that. The console is this here, and then you can also manage projects if you like, and also manage your current environment variables. Okay, so this is pretty much where you code. This is the so-called the editor where you write your code, and then you have this portion here, this segment here, where it provides help, file explorer as well as variable explorer. Now let's go to file explorer. It's always a good practice to open this up and go over to the documents that we were in earlier and move into our directory that we created, which is, why is it not showing? Is it under document? Oh, okay, we call it documents rather than documents. So we'll go into Iris project, select the folder. It's blank right now. So let's write some code. This is where the outputs are. So if this is really the environment where you 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. This is really the enhanced interactive Python environment whereby you can see all your output. You can also see all the historical log that I've used, that you've used, and by the dates as well. So Python is a really easy environment to work with. So if you want to print anything onto the screen, and you notice that there is the arguments that's already provide suggestion for you. You just type print and hello world. Okay, and to run this, there are two ways. You can either shift, holding the shift key, and basically you've highlighted the whole line. Keep an eye out on this input line here and type Control Enter, and notice that it print hello world. What you can do is save this by doing File, Save. You need to actually navigate into the documents, which is right here, and go into the Iris project, and I'm just going to call this hello world. Okay, so notice that it is also showing in your file explorer now. You can of course move on to print other things. 1 plus 1, that should print out 2 for you, and that's really the actual environment. This is the whole Spider environment that allows you to write your code and have output and monitor your variables too. So what do I mean by monitor variables? You can have a variable and store 5 into that variable, and notice that it is actually stored as that. you can actually come over here and print var. Okay, instead of typing in this editor here, you can actually type it here, press enter. It will actually give you the output that the variable value is var. Alternatively, you can also type var and get the actual value itself. When you actually get your file, an asterisk like this behind the name of your file, that means this you haven't actually saved. You can either control save or press this save button here. Alright, so I just want to close this console and restart a new one. So I'm just going to close this. It will start afresh, as you can see. Now the file explorer is still showing, still in the Iris project. So if you want to run this whole script in one go, you can actually press run file. And notice that it only print hello world, print the 1+1. It didn't print var is equal to 5. The reason is really simple. It's only our instruction is just to tell it to store. I never asked it to actually print it onto the console or the screen itself. So that's really a really quick run through of the Spider environment. I'm just gonna close this off right now and move over to the Jupyter Notebook. Okay, so again, I'm running the command prompt. I'm just gonna activate our project environment, which is Iris project. Okay, now that is activated, the first thing that you need to do is move into your documents and move into your folder, Iris project, clear that screen, and okay, this is our environment. Notice that hello world .py, .py basically means that these are Python file, is actually running. Now, if you want to run the Jupyter Notebook in this current folder that you're in, let's bring up the help to show you how you can actually set that such that you can actually run your Jupyter Notebook at the current directory. So here's the notebook dash directory is equal to such and such. So what you need to do now is that you type Jupyter Notebook -- notebook directory. All you have to do is leave it blank. Okay, if you leave it blank and you press enter, it will basically run this current directory. So if I log out of this and close this off and type Control C a few times, it doesn't always respond immediately. If I just show you that if I don't do that and just type Jupyter Notebook, good thing is that, well, unfortunately it's not really showing what I wanted to show. It will actually default to this for now, but from time to time, if your environmental configuration is a different one, I think I best to show you, otherwise you don't. Okay, so let's just run a completely new one. Now I'm also in a different directory, Jupyter Notebook. So if I run that, and notice that it defaults to a completely different environment. And quite often you will get an error message if you actually run this in the root directory. So let's just close that off and move on from that. I need to rerun this. Okay, Jupyter Notebook, and run this current directory. So this is what a Jupyter Notebook look like. It shows you the actual file directory. It shows you what is in there. You can upload a new file into this directory if you like. For our case, we're just gonna click new, and we're gonna create a new notebook using Python 3. So I'm gonna call this hello world. Notice that this has a very different interface and also feel from Jupyter Notebook. It also has in the menu, the file, the usual file, the edit, the view, which shows you some of the header toolbars that if you want to show, you can insert new cell, kernel, and all that. So let me talk about what are these kernel and cell and all that. The Jupyter Notebook runs, the environment is quite different from the Spider. The Spider is a typical environment the editor that you see. All you can do is write code, and if you want to leave some so-called comments, you actually have to put a hash in front of it so that the interpreter knows not to run it. But in the so-called Jupyter Notebook environment, it's a little bit different. Okay, so you can actually change the cell by toggling it using this and change it to Markdown. Okay, Markdown works a little bit like LaTeX. So let me just type the title, illustrate Jupyter Notebook, and smaller subtitle, and this is Hello World script. Okay, so this is a demonstration of how Jupyter Notebook works. Okay, so I just press Shift Enter. You can also use the cell, run cell. Basically, it will do exactly the same. So once I run that, notice that these are rich text format or LaTeX format, whereby the TypeScript is actually quite different. This is when you're running your code or cell by cell, Jupyter Notebooks will know that, okay, not to run this cell, this is actually a Markdown. It will just ignore it rather than running Python code. Now, within the next one here, I'm just going to do what we did earlier. Hello, hello world, and Shift Enter, and notice that immediately it gives me the printout. So 1 plus 1 gives me 2. So if I want to print 1 plus 1, I will also get that as well. If I store what we did, var is equal to 5. Notice that it doesn't print. I can also do var like this, and then it will print out the value of var. One thing to bear in mind is if I have something like 1 plus 1 and also var, notice that 1 plus 1 doesn't show. So in order for you to actually see both the output of your operation, you have to print, well, you don't have to print both, but you have to print those, anything that's not the last line, you actually have to print it. Now we actually have that working. So that's really what I want to do in this video, is to show you how to actually run the Spider environment, just to demonstrate to you the Spider environment, just so that you can navigate through it comfortably, both the Spider and also the Jupyter Notebook. I will interchange both. The Jupyter Notebook is very good in that as a teaching instrument, I can put a lot of text to explain what I'm doing in every steps. As a researcher, you can also put in mathematical formula. Just to show you quite simply, so you can actually put x is equal to 1 and you get that. Okay, or if you want to use it as a fraction, you can add fraction 7, then you get 1 over 7. So that's really why Jupyter Notebook is actually very powerful as a teaching tool and a repeatable research tool that all I have to do is send this to someone else. They can actually run all of it on their local PC or local notebook or Mac or whatever. So that's really at the end of the illustration part. What I do want you to do now is that I want you to actually internalize this. So I'm going to give you a little simple challenge. First of all, is to activate your environment, as I did in the beginning of this in this video. Activate your environment, that's the first one. Second one is run the Spider environment and do some simple computation. What does 1 plus 3 equals 2? And see if you can actually find the power of 4 to the power of 5, and what does that give you? Okay, so do that exercise and also repeat that again in the Jupyter Notebook. A simple exercise is play around with the Markdown, as I did, and also leave the actual code as code, as these are. Okay, and play around with it, and also one last thing, see if you can actually write the formula like this, And that's really the exercise I want to set forth for you to try it out. So don't skip that. I'm gonna ask you to pause the video now and come back to me. The first one, remember the challenge that I did ask you is what is 4 to the power of 5 looks like. So go ahead, run it on the Spider environment and also run it on the Jupyter Notebook environment. So pause this video right now. Welcome back. I hope that went well. I hope you really enjoyed it. And if you struggle through that, that's okay. That's really part of the learning exercise. And I hope that you found the contrasting difference between the Spider environment as well as the Jupyter Notebook environment is quite different, but both has its own strength. So to get power for, this is the exercise I asked you to do. 4 to the power of 5 is equal to 1024. Right, so let me save this and close this environment and stop this altogether. And just to summarize this, I just want to show you that you can do this outside the environment of both Spider and also the Jupyter Notebook. Now you can run IPython Notebook this way, or the Jupyter Notebook as I was mentioning before, but you can run the print hello world.py this way, not print hello world.py this way. Notice that it actually runs hello world and 2, so you can actually run it on the console or the PowerShell with the Python in front. In the next video, we are going to download the Iris dataset and start playing with it to get some intuitive understanding, and that's really our first project after getting ourselves all set up.